who didn't want to go to trial. He wouldn't let me go to trial. He said, Brooke, we're not allowed to do that. He said, they're going to convict you because you have a criminal record from 2009 and a history of drug use from 2009. And I said, but I'm clean. I've been clean for 8 years. Why would they care that I used to do drugs when I was 19? Why? Why would they bring up old fucking news, Mr. Attorney? And you know what his bitch ass said? He said, it doesn't matter. That's enough evidence to convict you. I said the child was not even in my care when she got hurt. How can they do this to me? How? The child was not even with me when she got hurt. Y'all, I'm about to pull up at Boost Mobile. Give me 5 minutes before I smash this motherfucking phone. I just paid my phone bill. Why am I having these problems? You know, here's the thing. People don't understand how waking up hungry, hot, with no options. Your fucking cell phone don't even work. Everything's gone wrong. There's not one good thing in your fucking life anymore because DSS stole that for a fucking kickback. That's right. They already had a family. They already had a family before they even took my daughter. They already had a family. You know, the system is fucked up, and the reality is they can do whatever they want. DSS has the right to do whatever they want, and you can't do shit about it unless you have upwards of $10,000 to do something about it. And let me just be clear that it actually starts around $50,000 to fight DSS on that level. Absolutely does. Over 50 grand. That's what they were quoting me when I was looking for an attorney to try to get my child back from the fucking lies. And at that point, I realized that there was no getting my child back, and I gave the fuck up. They did this because I had a prior criminal history. This is what they can do to you. It only takes one fucking lie. One. And here's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you as a parent, if you have a history of drug abuse, even if it was 20 years ago, baby, even if it was 20 years ago, if you have a history of drug abuse, it doesn't matter if you're clean or not. Say you're clean. You used to do heroin when you were in your 20s, but now you're 40 years old and DSS knocks on your fucking door and they say, hey, we think your child is being neglected and abused. The only thing they're going to be concerned about is that drug history from 20 years ago. And matter of fact, if anything happens and they want to say that you're neglecting your child, they can do it on the basis of that drug history. And a judge will sign off on it, even though you've passed drug tests, even though you have proof of income and you're showing that you're taking care of your kid, even though you've never asked the Department of Social Services for anything and you paid for child care out of pocket and you had your ducks in a row and you had a home and you had a career. They don't give a fuck. And once they mark you, you will never work again. Here's the thing. Don't you think that if someone harmed a child, they would charge them with something serious and not let them plead no contest? Ask yourself why they would charge someone with misdemeanor child abuse, and then let them plead no contest, an Alfred plea. See, at the time, this had been a 3-year fight for my child. I had no money, I had no family, I had no support, I had no one there for me. And matter of fact, everyone that said they were my support, like my babysitters that I used to pay $50 a fucking day to watch my kid, they turned on me. Yeah, they did. They made up lies and turned on me. Surprise, surprise. This is why I tell you, your friends ain't your friends. It be the people that are the closest to you that will turn their back on you and make up horrible lies about you in these types of situations. The reason that I cannot find a job is because I have on my criminal record a misdemeanor for child abuse that I pled no contest to. That's saying I am not guilty of this, but I recognize that my criminal record from 10 years ago and my drug history from 8 years ago is enough to convict me. That's what an Alfred plea is. At the time, you know, my attorney, who was a state represented, he works for the state, so he is the prosecutor's best friend. You think for a moment that here's how it works. An attorney that works for the state is the state. That's not your friend. That's not your friend. Court-appointed attorneys work for the state. So you might think that lawyer is there for the defendant, but I can promise you that is not the case. They work together to get the best possible outcome for the court. I remember begging my attorney to let me take this to trial, and he refused. I now realize that that's not even legal. Yeah, it's not. But what do you do when you have no money? And this is a state attorney. This is who is telling you that this is the way things have to be done. There was more than sufficient evidence to prove that I was not guilty of this. But do you think that the court was willing to hear any of that? Her name is Gabriella Ware. She is a social worker in Alamance County, and I'm coming after you, Miss Ware. I don't care if it takes me 30. I'm coming after you. I'm coming after your employer. I'm coming after your higher-ups, and coming after the Department of Social Services one day. Mark my goddamn words. This has affected my life going further. I can't even find work. And today, we're dropping my car off. So I'm about to be walking down the road with nowhere to go. There are no shelters. I've already called. They're full of immigrants. Yeah. And I'm going to put all of the evidence, everything out here for you guys someday, so you can draw your own conclusion, your own opinions. I don't care what anyone thinks, because at the end of the day, I know that I'm not guilty of this child. I've never spanked a child. I've never popped a child. I've never done anything to a child like that. They knew that. But once again, because I stabbed 2 women in a stupid teenage fight when I was 18 years old, and I served time in prison for that, when I got out of prison, I was clean. I stayed clean for 8 years. Had my own house, had my own career. Everything was going good. I had full custody of my child, alone, because the father was a waste of space. He was in prison on a habitual felon. Yeah, I know how to pick him, I know. You know, here's the thing, though. I recognize now that I made very poor choices back then. I was not a perfect mother. I was far from a perfect mother. Far. You are spread thin when you don't have family to help, when you don't have resources that you absolutely need as a parent. You are spread thin. And so I fell on my community. I had 2 or 3 babysitters that I worked with on a daily basis, because I worked 7 days a week. I did. And for the first 3 years of my child's life, there was no problems. There was no problems until she fell and broke her arm on an orange bouncy ball. She went to step on it, and when she stepped on it, it rolled out from underneath her foot, and she went to catch herself, and it broke her arm. Now, notice, I'm recounting this because she was with a babysitter when this happened. I have all the proof. I'll share the motion of discovery one day. We're just not there yet. The only reason I'm talking about this now is to tell you why I've not been able to find work. An employer sees child abuse, and they don't want to hire me. And I get that. I wouldn't want to hire someone either. But the fact is that I'm actually innocent. And an Alford plea should tell you all that you need to know. If you know anything about the court system, you know that they only give out Alford pleas to people that they don't think that they can beat in court. I didn't know that back then. You think my attorney told me, oh, Brooke, they're doing this because they don't have sufficient evidence, and they're worried that if you take it to trial that you'll win. He didn't tell me that, but that's the truth. Alford pleas are rare, very rare. And an Alford plea states, I didn't do this, but I know that you guys are going to find me guilty anyways. And I was on probation and parole for this for 2 years. I have not seen my child since. And I'll probably never see him again. Probably never see her again. Because of a lie. Because a social worker had it out for me.